I'm shocked, to be honest with you. I happened to be over at the Labour Party conference when I got a phone call from the Chief Minister saying, sit down, please. So we had to find a quiet place to sit. And then he told us about the news he'd just been given by Shoprite, which was obviously going public later on that day. It wasn't on my radar at all that they were thinking of selling. And obviously that produces a degree of instability. It produces a lot more questions than answers. But what we're doing in terms of a government is working quite closely with Shoprite, but especially with Tesco, to understand how that may change the relationship and how that may also change the relationship with food providers, but importantly customers also on the island. So the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture and the Department for Enterprise have been leading on this with negotiations with a whole range of people to understand the impacts this may have on a whole range of people right across our island.
It's interesting, isn't it? As you say, it did come to many people as a shock, but it's a private company. They had no need to tell you first.
No, absolutely. They did tell us before it went public, which, I think the Chief Minister has thanked them for. You're quite right, they are a private company. We've seen exactly the same happening in the United Kingdom and across the world with the consolidation of large retailers. Some of them, unfortunately, we've also seen completely go out of business. And I suppose if you look at the various scenarios, Shoprite stopping trading would have been a far worse outcome for the people of this island. What we've got, I see, is a vote of confidence by Tesco's, a major investment in the island, a major investment in retail and food provision in the island. But what we need to do is manage that transition and manage some people's quite justifiable fears and anxieties about that over the coming weeks by negotiation with those people involved.
I think one of the things that we were certainly questioned about, and the Chief Minister did talk a little bit about it when he was interviewed on Manx Radio, is whether Tesco pay tax and VAT over here, and are we going to be at a loss financially because of what's happened?
So the answer is absolutely no. We have a VAT sharing agreement. Now, obviously, for foodstuffs, there isn't any VAT on it. So that's immaterial, whoever sells it. But large retailers on the Isle of Man, whether that be Tesco, Marks and Spencer's, the Co-op, pay tax. It's at 10% on the Isle of Man. So the total amount from large retailers that the Treasury receive is in the order of 2.3 to 2.5 million pounds a year. That's not just from Tesco's, but that's from the whole sector. Now, the fact that it's from one retailer that's now taken over the responsibility of the sales from another, I don't think would have any major effect in terms of the tax. But Tesco do pay the tax on the profits they make on this island.
There has been some guarantee for employees in the shops in Shoprite that they will go to the new Tesco stores. We do know, though, there are around 60 jobs potentially that will be lost at the head office. That is a financial burden for us.
It's only a financial burden for government and Treasury if they can't find work. We know that we have record low levels of unemployment and record high levels of vacancies. Again, lots of vacancies, especially across the retail sector and the logistics sector, which is something that Shoprite excelled with when they were operating as a private company. So I certainly, when we've seen other companies, whether it be Ramsay Bakery or some of the banks lay off staff, they've been in a position to get new jobs fairly quickly. And certainly in terms of the benefits section, they have a lot of job advisors there, people who can look, if necessary, to help people retrain and get back into full employment. So whilst there is a risk, and as I said, whilst there is some anxiety and some concern out there, I'm confident, given the buoyant economic situation we've got on the Isle of Man, particularly in terms of skills and employment, that these people will find jobs very relatively quickly.
For the shopper, though, there is, again, concern about prices. And I'm guessing there's not a great deal you can do about this. If Tesco comes over and they effectively have a monopoly, you can't tell them how to set their prices.
Well, Tesco will never have a monopoly. We actually, on the Isle of Man, for a small island, have a remarkable amount of choice here. There's other big retailers, such as Co-op and Marks and Spencer's. But let's not forget the independent retailers. I mean, the one take-home message from this is that if people are worried about not being able to get local produce, why don't you buy local? Why don't you go out there and support your local butcher, support your farmers market, support your local farmers by actually buying Manx produce? Government have been asking people to do this for ages. Why don't you actually vote with your wallet or your purse and actually see what's also available on your high street when it comes to foodstuffs?
But how well does government do in buying local and supporting local itself? Let's think about M&H sites, for example.
Yeah. We actually do very well, particularly when it comes down to food. So if you go into hospital and have a hospital meal, or if your children go to school and have school meals there, the vast majority of that food is certainly locally sourced, if not locally produced. So government do a huge amount in terms of supporting the local economy by its own procurement procedures. But wider than that, we support the local economy through a whole range of aspects in terms of financial schemes, but also the subventions behind things like the meat plant, the flour mill as well, and close negotiations and cooperation with a whole range of independent producers such as the creamery to help them export and actually market their products both domestically and internationally.
We're sort of several days on from the first announcement now. What conversations have taken place so far with Tesco?
I know that the Chief Minister is planning to meet with them and also the Deaf Minister and DFE Minister next week. We've had emails from them already in terms of their willingness to talk to local suppliers. They are coming into this with a very much an open book in terms of their ongoing negotiations and their ongoing relationship with the Isle of Man, which they're committed to. So we will be, growing that relationship, obviously from just the one store to far more right across the island.
We say far more. Do we know exactly how many? Will they need 10 across the island?
Well, again, this is a private company, and it's not for government to tell them how many shops they should run or what hours they should open. But certainly, when you look at their business model in the United Kingdom, Tesco are known as an extremely good employer who provide a whole range of services to their local communities, which are really valued by those people.
If you just think about your own constituency, Ramsey, for a moment, obviously you've got the Clear Pharmacy, which is now in that Shoprite building. Do we know anything about the future of that?
Again, these are private matters in terms of the lease arrangements, and I'm not party to the way that the lease with the pharmacy has been separated with the lease from Shoprite there. But certainly in Ramsey, we've got 3 pharmacy sites, one of which is within the current Shoprite store. And I would imagine that when Tesco go in there, we'll have a gradual transition. I don't think anyone needs to be afraid that there'll be some sudden change and sudden closures. What Tesco have already said is that initially they'll be just rebadging the stores and then gradually getting more integration in terms of their supply chains, which hopefully will give far more choice for people on the Isle of Man in terms of the breadth of the products that they provide.
And with those supply chains, what power of persuasion do you think the Manx government has to encourage them to pick some Isle of Man products? Well,
again, the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture have been doing that for many years, both in terms of Tesco, but also the Co-op and Marks and Spencer's in terms of some of those big retailers. And those efforts will continue. What we need to do is make sure that the products offered to Isle of Man people are of a certain standard and quality, but also encourage people when they're given a choice, whether they want to buy something that's been produced locally or something that may be a little bit cheaper that's come from halfway around the world, they make the right choice for themselves.
And have you had any discussions with local producers? Because several of them are quite concerned.
I personally haven't, but again, the Department for Environment, Food and Agriculture and the Department for Enterprise have been leading on this and approaching all the large local suppliers and actually got a whole range of meetings arranged over the next couple of weeks to take on board what their concerns are, but also what may be significant opportunities in terms of broadening out the range of outlets that they can sell from.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.